My name is Kyle Harrison, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
On Schreiber.
Sidearm win, scores!
Now it's one. Padel scores! Hands off for Rabil. Switches hands and scores!
Kyle Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson.
Harrison fires and scores!
Welcome to Season 2 of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam, and together we're bringing you interviews from all your favorite players and coaches, as well as news and analysis from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. Today we are lucky enough to be joined by a 2005 Tewaaraton winner, a national champion, current midfielder with the Redwoods Lacrosse Club, and the PLL and lacrosse icon Kyle Harrison. Kyle, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No, we appreciate you joining us. So we're going to talk a little bit about your illustrious career. But before we do, we kind of want to get into a little bit of your father, Miles Harrison. Father's Day is coming up, so we wanted to kind of bring recognition to him. He attended Morgan State and was a member of the famous 10 Bears team. How did your father's career influence your decision to eventually play lacrosse?
My father's career is the reason I played lacrosse, right? So for me, lacrosse growing up was the third on the totem pole. It was always basketball, soccer, lacrosse. Because my dad never pushed it on me, and so I just didn't gravitate towards it. And so I didn't really start falling in love with lacrosse, taking it seriously, and like it didn't become my sport until like my junior year of high school, when I got old enough to understand my dad's story and what they did at Morgan. And then I wanted to be a lacrosse player, right? So like without him, there would have been no reason to pursue it. Like up until literally like mid junior year, late junior year, I was convinced I was playing basketball or soccer in college, and lacrosse would end there.
Yeah, but it didn't. And you continued. You played at Friends School a little bit, and then you went to Hopkins, where you played under Coach Dave Pietramala and won a national championship and a Tewaaraton in 2005, your senior year. How did your game progress during your time at Hopkins?
So, I think my best friend and I, Benson Earl, we both went to Friends and then went to Hopkins together. And I think the coaching style and the playing style at Friends really benefited us when we got to Hopkins. I think what you see, especially now with kids that play so much club ball and play with so many high-level coaches, like they come in to college with like so many different schemes and different ways of playing. And sometimes it's great because their IQ is super high, but then sometimes you have to like reteach them everything. And at Friends, we just didn't have that, right? It was like a very laid back school from a sports perspective. Like we were all in the band, we were all in the chorus, and we loved competing on the lacrosse field, but like it wasn't any crazy high level schemes. And so I think when we got there, we just like started learning, like subbing through the midfield. I'm telling you right now, our first fall practice, I remember like coach called post to sub in a scrimmage and everybody started sprinting to the midfield line. Me and Benson looked at each other like, yo, what the hell are they doing? Like why would you ever run to the midfield line? Like, why wouldn't you just run to the box, And like, so there were just like little nuanced stuff that we didn't know. So I think when I got to Hopkins, I was improving really rapidly, man, because the high level coaching, high level playing, and just like the fact that I was just a blank slate, just had the opportunity to, I had great leaders, Adam Doniger, PJ DeConza, Nick Murtha, Matt Hanna, Kevin Boland, Connor Ford, Corey Hart. I could go on forever, but I had great folks in front of me that really taught me the right way to do things. And then, it all culminated in that undefeated senior year.
That's awesome. I know we can talk about Hop all day, right? But I work in higher ed, and I'm curious. I visit I'm in Towson, so I visit all the Baltimore schools. Did you go to Friends for K to 12, like the whole time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was there the whole time.
That's like, it's one of my favorite schools to visit. I just like, I think it's the Quaker thing, just takes the holistic approach and everything. But I guess since you went there for the whole time, how did your parents kind of decide that was the school? Because I coach at BL, right? And there's pockets of different types of schools, and that they're just, I think they stick out in terms, they're like an anomaly, right? They're a little bit different than the rest of the normal Baltimore schools.
Yeah, no, you're right on it, man. So I think for me, my sister went to Friends and she's 6 years older. So it was literally just like convenient for my parents to drop us both all at the same spot. And then like 8th grade is when like all the different schools, St. Paul's, Gilman, I visited everywhere before going into high school. And it was like partially because we were trying to decide, like, do I need to be in a more competitive sports environment?
Sure.
And then secondly, and equally as important, like, do I need to be, if I'm going to get recruited, do I need to be at these schools? And like, ultimately, man, where we landed is like, if I'm as good as we're hoping I am, like, I'm going to get recruited. And then, like, secondly, and more importantly, like, I love this place. Like, these are the people I've been together with since kindergarten. Like, the 67 people I graduated with, whatever, it was like 63 of them I've been with for 13 years. So, like, I'm not leaving now.
Sure.
And so, like, man, it was a dope experience. And I talked about this in an interview a couple days ago. Like, what I loved about our team at Friends, specifically our senior year, is because, like, outside of me, Ben Skinner, who came to Hopkins, Dan Sale, who went to Yale, Evan Kay, who ended up at UMBC, and like a few other guys that maybe played somewhere at a D3 level. It was like a bunch of random cats that like were in the choir and then would have to like leave practice early, go to do their acting class. And it was just like, we had to like figure out how to rely on each other and like bring the best out of each other to win games. And, you know, junior year, we got pumped in the A conference. And then senior year, like we came back and we beat Calvert Hall a couple times, we beat St. Mary's, and like we just like obviously weren't in the playoffs or anything like that, but like that was a big step for us.
Sure.
So man, I love my time there. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, it's a good spot. It's a really good spot. I love it.
It is.
And then kind of going back to the Hop side of things, obviously you decided to stay home, right? You were close. Your folks could come to your games and whatnot. And what really went into that kind of final decision to make it Hop? I know it's a big decision.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think I am a family-oriented person just by nature. And so, you know, I looked at, trying to think of what my list was. It was like Maryland was on it because my god brother was playing hoops there at the time. I think UVA, so the two were UNC and Hopkins. Like that's UNC because of Jordan, and then Hopkins because it's down the street. Like Benson Irwin, the guy I've referenced a couple times, he literally grew up, like his house where I spent, you know, half my childhood is like a block and a half from Hopkins. So like literally if you wind up hard enough, you can get a ball to Homewood Field from his porch. And so like it came down, man, to like my family can watch me every game I play. I can, like, if I need to go home, I can. Like this is very familiar, I think. Look, man, I think without getting too deep here, like I think when you're a black player in a white sport, you want some sort of familiarity. And like the thought of like going down to UVA, I was like, no, like I don't know if that's it. Like going to UNC, as dope as that is, I got family there. Like Jordan went there. Like that's still like taking a step out. Whereas Hopkins is like, I'm like literally 3 miles from where I went to high school. You know, so like it was just convenient. I was really able to thrive, man. Like it was a good situation for me.
That's awesome. Still got to wear those powder blues too. You got to keep
least, right? Yep, exactly. I was close enough. Close enough.
No, that's awesome. And transitioning from Hopkins, you know, you get that championship your senior year. You get drafted by the New Jersey Pride in the MLL. You spent a few seasons there. And then we kind of want to go into the LXM Pro Tour because that was kind of a big step for lacrosse then. And you were a part of that with the Ritz brothers as well as with
Hochstadt.
Yep, exactly. So talk to us a little bit about your decision to kind of branch out and start that LXM Pro Tour.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So what happened, why we started that tour was basically I was moving out to LA either way. But we were able to have a trade happen. I got traded. Me and Brett Hughes got traded from New Jersey out to LA. So we moved. A bunch of guys were out there, San Francisco, LA, up and down the coast. And then those two teams folded. And we were like, bruh. So now we got to like fly all the way back every time we want to play. So we started talking. And, you know, the concept at the time, the equipment pool in the MLL was closed. So like I was a Nike and STX guy, but couldn't even wear my own equipment to play professionally. So there was a bunch of dudes out there like that. And then, you know, me, Scott, Xander, Max, and Craig sat down and like started talking it through. And ultimately it was like, oh, well, wait, we got a ton of pro guys out here, 1. 2, all of them have different sponsors than the sponsor of the league. And so those other sponsors are probably looking to spend cash somewhere and have a footprint at the pro level. So let's start this thing and see if we can get Champion, Maverick, STX, all the equipment manufacturers at the time weren't allowed in the MLL. And so that's what it was born out of. And I think, you know, being in LA as long as we were, like obviously we kind of felt like we had our pulse on the entertainment industry and what would be interesting to drive tickets. And so that's where the music part came from, which was, I don't want to say a miss. It just added like a layer of like headache. Something that, like, you know, like, because if you remember back, I mean, we had like Wale a couple times.
Yeah.
Like we had like real people, and that's like it's it's like an undertaking in itself to do that and then a lacrosse game. So I think, you know, for me personally, I could talk about LXM forever, but I think that when I think about the success and what it did, like I left the MLL having to wear competitors' gear. I came back 3 years later wearing my own equipment, right? And so like for me, and I'm not saying LXM caused them to open up the equipment pool, like you'd have to ask them why they opened it up. But what it did was it did allow us to come back wearing our own gear, and now I'm more valuable to the people that sponsored me, right? And all of a sudden, you're able to turn more sponsorship dollars and create more revenue for yourself. So LXM, you know, people have asked me, like, was it a failure? It's like, no, like it served its purpose, right? And I think we ultimately, I think if when we went with Adrenaline, a partner there, and then we finally started putting the games in the middle of the tournament, like it was great, good crowds. We stopped the tournament for a few hours and played the game. I think ultimately, if we would have continued it, we would have had to look into expansion, right? Like you couldn't just keep 2 teams traveling. And so like, but as far as this, like my mind, it was a success. Like it served its purpose. I came back to the professional league wearing my own equipment and being able to generate more revenue from a sponsorship perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. You brought up Wale. That adds like a dagger to my heart. So I'm from Delco. My dad actually taught Xander in 3rd grade, I think. So I was so excited to that you guys were coming to Philly. And parents scheduled our family vacation for that August. And I like begged my parents, right? I begged my parents to change the week. All I wanted to see I was a goalie, so all I wanted to see was Harry Alford because I tried to stick like him. Alex was like the only lefty like, in the pro ranks at the time. I'm like, I just want to go so bad. Then so we don't change it. All I can do is go to lax.com back in the day when like that was the only spot with like
you can find stuff.
You can just look at the pictures, and all I see is like Wale, LeVar Harrington was there, right? Like random.
It was turned. Yeah.
I'm like so salty to this day. that weekend, I was pretty bummed. Not gonna lie.
It was turned, man. It was man. We had so much fun building that business, and we were so young. Like Scott was great. You know, I think if we would have rolled it out, you know, a couple years later. Maybe it would still be around. You never know. But it was. I mean, obviously, PLL is LXM on steroids, right? It's. I think it's not. You can't even put them in the same sentence. This is just a different business, bigger, more well thought out. But LXM was fun.
Yeah, I to this day I still every once in a while go and like sideline swap and do LXM 610 to see if I
see if you can find something. I'll look in storage, see if I can find something for you.
There we go. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you know, you did go back to the MLL and you got that championship with the Ohio Machine. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, returning to that league, that team that you guys had that, you know, lost in the championship and then won the following year. And I believe that was probably your first experience, you know, working with Coach Nat St. Laurent, who's now your head coach with the Redwoods. So talk about too how your relationship with him kind of grew from that moment as well.
Yeah, no, great question. So we that Ohio team, man, I mean, we still have like a text chain together. We always talk like we should have won a couple more, you know, like we were so close. And even that one we had lost the year before, I want to say we were up by like 11. I don't even know how to this day, I can't figure out how we lost that game. But it was a great group, man. It was for me coming back to the MLO, obviously there was a lot of anxiety and trying to figure out like this is going to be weird coming back. But I landed on a young team that like needed some sort of like veteran leader. And you know, I wasn't back alone. I was with Pete. You know, Pietramala, obviously a close friend, played in the LXM. I've known Pete since he was in like 6th grade. So us coming from the LXM back to PLL together, like that was kind of a comfort, right? Like I had a built-in relationship already existing. And then when you get there and you meet Marcus and Steele and Raj, who I knew, like it just worked, right? And you got Neek talking trash to literally everyone, like even the damn water boys getting it from Neek. But we just had a great thing going, man. And that championship run was a ton of fun just because of what had happened the year before, right? My first year there, they had never made the playoffs before. We go on a run and we make the playoffs. So everybody's stoked about that. The next year, I think we lost it to Rochester in the semis. Next year, next year we get back. And we're good. We go to the championship. We lose championship. The next year we come back and we win it, right? So it was like a really cool progression to be a part of for that organization. It's something I'm super proud of. And you chase championships as an athlete. That's like what we do, right? So it was cool to finally get there, and that was a long time coming. And then as far as Nat goes, like, I think what Nat did that was so special, man, is like that team, what made that team go was the chemistry, like between the coaches and the players. Like, obviously, I think at the pro level, everybody's good, right? You're not going to find bad players. Everybody can ball. And so the next level is like the relationships and chemistry on the team, like how you guys get along. When stuff goes south, like who steps up, do people get after each other, all that stuff. And so we had Coach Mariano, who was there, and he did a great job with the defense. And then he took the it was either Florida. He probably took the Florida job at that point. Yeah, he took the Florida head coaching job. And so when Bear told us that Coach Nat was coming, like I had heard of Coach Nat, but I didn't know him. Man, and he when he got there, it was like he'd been there all along. Like he just like instantly was the leader, and everybody respected him, and he had the camaraderie with the dudes, and you respected how hard he worked. But then at the same time, how he could turn it off when you guys just hanging out. Like he just has that thing that like elite coaches have, that like they can get after you on the field, but then when you're like in the lunchroom or you're in the team bus, like he's joking, he's poking, like it's tough to find, man. And look, that thing at the pro level, that like separates things. It does. Like everybody's talented, right? Like it's that next level that separates things. So having the opportunity to play for him in the PLL is, I've as a black man, I've always wanted to play for a black coach. I've only got to do it once. And that was with Brian Silcott in New Jersey. He was only our coach for a year, and then I want to say that trade happened to LA maybe or something like that. But I only got to play for him for a year, and so like playing for Nat's pretty special.
That's awesome. And let's dive into the PLL a little bit. You talk about how it's kind of like it's not like the LXM, but it's almost that on steroids, right? And you talked to one of our contributors, Dan Arestia, about like year one and how every week was an absolute sprint, but at the same time, it really energized you. So kind of talk about last year. I know that's an open-ended question, but kind of what the experience for you as kind of you're on kind of both sides, right? You're building something, but preparing to be on the field.
No, it's tough, right? Like, I mean, I'm not the only person managing it. Paul's doing the same thing. Tom's doing the same thing. It is, but it's tough. Last year was crazy. It was a whirlwind just because, we started it a couple years prior and we're working on it. And like, it's crazy when you get to be like, again, we talked about LXM it was awesome, cool idea. Some of the most fun years of my life. But in terms of scale, like significantly smaller than the PLL, right? And so like why this one's so crazy is like, I mean, I remember my initial conversation was with Paul at the lacrosse convention, like 2018 maybe. And like we're sitting down and Paul and I at the time like remained friends and close, but like lived on different coasts. All of our sponsors like compete with each other, so there's no time we're like ever actually going to work together. Play together on Team USA, but like that's kind of our only real time that we got to spend together. So we had this habit of like being like, yo, we're both in Philly, let's make sure we grab dinner. Like we're both here, let's make sure. And it just never happened. Like somebody get pulled in a different direction, never happened. So like at the convention, he's like, yo, lock this in your calendar. Breakfast, like Iron Rooster, 8 a.m. Saturday. Like lock that in. We have to do it. It's like, all right, bet. So we go, sit down, and he's like rolling out the idea. And I'm like, obviously excited about it, like done, I'm in. But then you fast forward to like what actually happened. And it's like a real pro league on NBC and with all these incredible sponsors. And it was just crazy to watch it go from an idea to like this massive thing. And obviously there's a ton of work left to do. And we're still building every day and it's still really exciting. But for me last year, it was when I look back at it and strip away all the stressful stuff. I land on the like pretty special to get to watch something go from an idea between two brothers to turn into this.
I have to say the fact that this started at Iron Rooster, which I didn't know, which is one of my spots I love. That like legitimizes the PLL a little bit more.
Adam, did some of people go to Iron Rooster after your wedding? I think I went to Iron Rooster after because it was right around the corner from the hotel, right?
It's so good, Brett.
Oh yeah, it's like farm to table, right?
Which one are you talking about? The one downtown?
I'm not sure. I went to one of them. I don't think mine was downtown though.
You probably went to the one out in like Hunt Valley.
Okay.
That's exactly where I went. Yeah.
That was where you were staying, Hut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went to 100 Valley. Yeah, no, so Paul and Mike had already like baked up the idea, and he just kept being like, "Yo, we have to talk, we have to talk, we have to talk," and then we sat down, and that was it. Iron Rooster.
That's before he went vegan, right? Probably, so he could.
No, I feel like he ate a couple like grapes, and that was it at the table. I'm hammering a Belgian waffle.
There we go.
That's funny. And to go to the lacrosse side of things, you guys had a great year with the Redwoods. It fortunately fell short in that championship in overtime. I hate to bring up old wounds, but how has that motivated you for this year 2 of the PLL and going into this PLL Championship Series in Utah?
Look, man, we're excited. And maybe because I'm old, I don't like dwell on that. You can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not a dude that like lets a loss consume me. I would have liked to win, right? Like we were right there, and honestly, that one sucked because I actually thought we were going to win that one. And it turned so quickly.
Yeah.
But like I was upset for a week or two, and then you let it motivate you, and you go back at it. But I think I heard Brody Merrill say something the other day when somebody was talking about his age. He's like, I'm on borrowed time at this point playing. And it's the truth. Like, I think Brody, I think Brody may be 38, I'm 37. Like, I get that, like, the end is near. And so, like, I just enjoy playing. Last year I shot it terribly, couldn't get in the shooting rhythm. So been shooting a ton in the off season, obviously get back to that. But I don't just like a loss, I don't dwell on that either. It's what it is. That's part of it. And so championship series, I think we're built for it, right? Like we got a good crew at the defense. We have enough depth at the midfield of guys that can kind of go both ways. The attackmen obviously can go to the hoop. They can finish the ball. They can play off ball. So I think we're built to have a chance here coming up in Utah. But it's a tournament, and it's one of these things that like unprecedented, right? Nobody's had gyms. Nobody's had anything to do. Like nobody can really. I literally. So STX has been closed, which is where I usually shoot on the turf. And so I have like a community college around the way that has goals up, and it's like no backup. So like it's not that much fun. So I'm not walking 50 yards. Like I'm good. And so like I went around yesterday trying to find a field, and like every field is shut down still. Like goals locked up, and I'm sure so everybody's dealing with the same thing, So I'll be interested to see as you get there. Those 3 days of training camp that we have are going to be crazy important to like not only put in schemes, like that's important, but like just to get your stick in your hands and dodge each other and get checked and like all the things that like you need to do to prepare to play, because we can't do it right now. You can try your best, right? You can train, you can work out, you can lift. Like we turned one of our guest rooms into a gym. So like I got some weights, but like you can't mimic dodging and having somebody cross check the hell out of you. You can't do that on my own. I can't have my son do that to me. So just trying to figure out and make sure we get there and make sure that training camp is taken seriously.
No, that's great. We're excited for it. We're excited to watch it on NBC this summer. I do want to shift gears a little bit too. You are the head of player relations and diversity and inclusion. You also manage the PLL assists. Going on with what's going on with our country, with all the protests about systemic racism in the country. I think, you've been a really strong voice on how we in the lacrosse community and just in general can be more inclusive. You had that podcast with Paul. I just read your letter too that you wrote with your father on US Lacrosse Magazine, that article. And I thought that was, again, just really raw. And I think, again, hearing your perspective, because, I don't have that experience that you do. Just how can we be more inclusive in the lacrosse community? How can we kind of stand up for our fellow Black athletes and athletes of, any race?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I think for now, it's about conversations, uncomfortable conversations, and just getting an understanding of how your Black teammates may feel. Like that's really it, right? Like I think there's obviously a more macro conversation to be had with, to your point earlier, systematic racism, as you mentioned. I know people are talking about legislation and how to change that, voting, all the different things. But like, I think strip all that away for right now, the focus as a lacrosse community, let's have some difficult conversations with our Black teammates and just get a better feel, right, man? Because ultimately that's what it comes down to. And I'd strongly encourage, if you haven't read Jules' thing, read his thing. Trevor put something out. Dane Smith just put something out. Like the experience as a Black player, man, it is it's not like the overt racism stuff, like the obvious, like that guy's racist. It's more of the microaggressions that are like just build up over time, and it just is exhausting. And so that's where it starts, man. Starts with conversation. Starts with I'm a believer that people are good until they prove me otherwise. And so like I try and give people the benefit of the doubt. And if someone says something that's insensitive, rather than be angry and go at them in a hateful way, I'd much rather just have a conversation and explain why this was offensive, and let the conversation go from there, right? I think the last thing I'd say is I'd encourage folks to study and read about racism in America and just the Black experience in America over history. Not right now, right? Because I get that, like, different times people have different opinions on what's happening currently. So, like, let's just put that on hold for now. I want you to read the history of racism in our country, and Blacks in America, understand our history. And then I think once you understand that, it might give you more of an insight to how, like, why Black people feel the way they do currently, right? Like, understand how it started and where we are now. And then, you know, because I feel like some of the things I've seen, some of the comments I've heard, people are getting so wrapped up in not getting, like, the anger or why folks feel the way they feel at the moment. And then, you know, people throw data out, like, just hold on the data for a little bit, hold on all that, like, do some history, learn, have conversations, and let's move forward.
Yeah, no, I think you put it really aptly in your article too. Like, don't just DM somebody, like, reach out, have a phone call, have a conversation. And that's kind of how we're going to, you know, kind of get beyond this and kind of, you know, improve our society and our sport too. Because I think something that hit home with me when I was reading your article is when people ask you if you want your children to play the sport, you say to be determined right now, you know? And so I guess what is it going to take, like, what is the PLL, I guess, too, doing, and what do you think we need to do to kind of make that answer be a yes, you know, down the road?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question. I think I'm still figuring it out, man. Like, I don't know. I think for me, I've been so lucky. I hate when I get in these discussions, it almost comes across like it's been so hard for me, because it really hasn't. My dad played, which was why I played, because I had a role model down the hallway from me. And then I went to Friends, as we talked about, which was like this really inclusive Quaker school that, like, yes, we accepted each other. We noticed that I was a different color or you were a different color, but we accepted each other for that, right? Like, there was, you know, we were great. No issues there. I got to Hopkins, right in Baltimore, right at home base. So, like, obviously a well-established Black community here in Baltimore City, right? So, like, didn't feel out of place. And then became a pro and got to really chase this thing. So, like, the microaggressions over time certainly were frustrating and are tough to deal with when you think back to it. But, like, generally speaking, my situation was pretty good. Like, it worked out. And then, not to mention, like, I've had some success on the field. So, like, then it even got even easier for me. So, like, the thought that, like, my nephew plays in DC and gets called the N-bomb often, has a team of kids, every time they go to a field, there's some sort of altercation, and somebody says something and someone gets set off. And it's just like, man, do I want my kids are two mixed kids. Like, do I want my kids dealing with this nonsense? Or, like, do I want them to go play soccer or basketball or something that, like, this isn't a constant conversation? Because what I will say is, like, this sport, I feel like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I feel like this specific conversation has been going on forever. Like, as long as I've been a pro, like, you know, I've been having this every year. There's some sort of D&I talk of like, let's fix this, let's do that. So look, man, and that's not to say people aren't trying, because I know people are trying. I know we're all trying, but we just have to stay at it and make meaningful, impactful change. But to answer your original question of, like, well, how will I feel better about my kids playing? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
No, I appreciate, you know, the honesty.
Like, I know how much shit my nephew takes just for being my nephew.
Yeah.
You know, like, not only is he, you know, he's Black, and then he's my nephew. So, like, I mean.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the honesty and, you know, being willing to have this conversation too, because I think it's important. And I think you brought up a good point, is we've been dealing with this for a while. This isn't new. You know, right now we're in a situation in America that it's kind of brought to the surface, which is good. But it's also, again, like, not a new conversation we've been having specifically in lacrosse as well. But we appreciate your thoughts on that. We're going to shift gears a little bit to our 5 and 5 segment. But first, we're going to hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll get into that. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today, I also want to talk to you about Tomahawk Shades. Tomahawk Shades have an array of both quality sunglasses and blue light glasses at a fraction of the cost of popular sunglass brands. Their blue light glasses are perfect for guys like me who spend hours looking at a computer screen when editing. They also have a great collection of sunglasses with pro athletes like Kylie Ohlmiller, Kyle Harrison, Mike Chanichuk, and Chris Hogan repping the brand. So if you want a pair of the shades the pros wear, visit tomahawkshades.com and use the code PLT20, save 20% on your order today. All right, so welcome back. Now we're going to dive into our 5 and 5 segment. So I'll do the lacrosse questions, Adam will do the off-the-field questions. And the first one we usually ask our guests is, what are some pregame superstitions or routines you have, and how have they kind of changed over time?
Yeah, great. So in college, I was like crazy. It was like me and Benson would get up at the same time. He'd put on Phil Collins, start blasting our house. We'd go to the bagel shop, Eddie's. We'd grab our bacon, egg, and cheeses. We're in my Jeep, listening to music on our way to the field, and we were in the locker room at 10:30 for our 1 p.m. game. Like, that was it. And then I would go, like, I'm there. I get taped. I'd go out. Me and Paul would throw ball, like, would dodge, go down the alley, throw it back. He'd go shoot the other way. He'd come back up, do it for me. So that was all the pregame stuff. Then I listen to my music when I go. I think it's funny, man, when you turn pro, because it's not as routine and like clear what's going to happen, it was harder to have like all of these crazy pregame rituals. And so I don't, I FaceTime my wife and kids. Like, we go out to warm up, right? So warm-ups happen. Then I come back in and I FaceTime my wife and kids right before the game actually starts. I talk to them. That's like the must. And then the other one is I watch, I'll keep this one really brief here because people can read it out. I like, it's partially because of my background at Friends, but I have always been fascinated by people trying out for singing shows, like America's Got Talent, whatever, help me out. American
Idol, Star Search was one.
Star Search back in the day.
Yeah, that was like the
but here's my obsession. As athletes, like, we chase these moments, right? Like, you chase like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 jump shot. You chase the, I got the ball in my stick, overtime, I got to make a play, right? But like, watching those people, like, everything in their life like culminates in that moment of them trying out. Like, if they hit a home run, like, their life's changed forever. If they blow it, like, it's a wrap. So like, I've been fascinated by those. So I have like 5 or 6 of those that I just, like, if you catch me in the locker room, dudes are listening to music, I'm literally sitting there with my iPad or phone watching these things because I'm fascinated by those. So those would be my 2. Watch those and then call my family.
That's awesome. That's really unique. I don't think we've had anyone say something like that. Usually, I know Adam would watch highlights of Dominic Hasek and some other goalies, but yeah, that's a unique one.
William hung on repeat, right?
Dog, he snapped. Snapped.
Number 2, what has been your favorite venue to play at? I know you've been to a lot in your career, especially with ever. It can be LXM Tour, it can be college, high school, PLL.
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. If it's my favorite field to ever play on, it's Homewood Field. There's not a better field. Yeah. So if that's the question, I'd have to go with Homewood.
Gotcha.
If it's like the one that's like the coolest ever, I'd say probably. We'll stay with Homewood. I was gonna say it's a really dope. There's like a couple dope fields overseas I've played on, but like they don't compare to Homewood.
Yeah.
We'll stay there.
Yeah.
It's
no,
final answer. I actually run the shot clock for Hop, so I know like Ernie LaRosa. So I'm up there with Ernie all the time, and I love just like with the like apartment buildings and the townhouses. It's like the spot. The only thing
better.
Sometimes you can't play music. I think you guys had a problem with that. You can't play music after a time because some of the neighbors get about it.
Yeah, some of the neighbors get upset. Yep. Man, there's no place better.
No, yeah, that intimate setting. I'm excited to see, hopefully you guys go back there next year. I'm sure you will. Because it stinks that was put on pause. That's usually the one me and Adam try to get to because he lives in Baltimore.
Such a good game.
We have family there. So we went last year, but looking forward to it in 2021. It was very hot.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable.
Number 3 I have is, what is your current stick setup in terms of head, shaft, and stringing? I know you're STX sponsored.
I'm back. So I'm back to the Old Stallion. Like, I've played with the Old Stallion for the last 12 years. And last year, STX had me play with that wide one. What's it called? The Stallion 500, I think. Maybe.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm back to the Old Stallion. We'll just leave it at that.
Awesome.
Back to the Old Stallion.
No.
And then going off of that one, what has been your favorite piece of K18 gear that you've had over the years? I know, like, for me, I always wanted the gloves. I never ended up getting them.
K18 gloves are the best product we made, for sure.
I was
like,
going to say.
There's, like, little pieces of each line that I like the 1s, the 3s, some limited edition stuff. But, like, my favorite product, the best product, was the K18 2 gloves.
2 ones, okay. Yeah, they were I think those were it was either the 2s or the 3s were the ones I really wanted. I would always make mock-ups on STX's site and in my like high school colors. I'm like, Dad, I need these gloves. I need them. He's like, I just bought you gloves from Dick's Sporting Goods. I'm like, no, but I need the custom K18s. But it was funny. That, yeah. And then number 5, who's a player or coach that you've leaned on as a mentor during your career?
Oh, I mean, there've been tons. I think, AJ Hogan was the guy I watched and wanted to be. Adam Doniger was a guy when I was in college, like I wanted to be him and just like literally attached to myself to him and just did everything he did. Mm-hmm. Then I became a pro and followed around Jesse Hubbard everywhere he went, and tried to take as much from him as I could. So I've been lucky, man. I'm around. I think what you'll find with most guys at the pro level that make it here, everyone wants to like help the next person along, like try and get them there. And I just had a bunch of dudes that did that for me, whether it was Mickey Jarbo for my short time with him in LA, Sean Lindsay, got to play with him in LA as well, same kind of thing. Spencer Ford, had a great bond with him in LA. Again, Jesse Hubbard, when me and Brett got traded from New Jersey to LA, I can't remember what happened, but there was something that happened on the back end of that Jesse got traded out there too. So I got to annoy him for another year. Like it was just, I've been lucky, man.
That's awesome. Adam, you want to take away the off the field?
This one's kind of loaded since you're a dad, so that's probably going to be the answer. But what are some hobbies or activities you enjoy doing when you're not on the field?
Yeah, just hit it on the head. Just spending time with my family. I think I used to hoop a ton. Now I try and chill with that just so I don't have some dumb injury happen heading into the season. But yeah, man, I think when you get kids, I think what COVID has showed me is like you'll never get this time back, right? I got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they both do something new and different every day. So like when I'm not on the field or I'm not working, I'm with them.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Number 2. So I'm gonna make this a current athlete because I know you're a big Jordan fan. So we're always curious. Favorite non-lacrosse athlete to watch?
LeBron.
I'll make it LeBron.
Okay.
Yep. Don't even need to finish a question. It's not close.
Easy.
It's not close. Yeah, man. I mean, years from, he's one of those dudes, man, that like, this happened to Jordan a little bit too at one point. It certainly happened to Kobe. Like, we're not going to realize how special he really is and was until like 20 years from now. When you like take a look at some of the stuff he did, like it's out of control, like literally out of control.
That's awesome. Do you have an NBA squad? Because like there's no one like the Wizards.
Same
right?
as you. Yeah. Same as you. Yeah, I'm a Lakers fan just because I spent 10 years out there. But like growing up, to your point, like we don't have a Baltimore team. The Wizards were like, so I was a Bulls fan younger with Jordan, and then moved out to LA and like started going to a lot of games, and so then became a Lakers fan. And then now that I'm back here in Maryland, like I'm still a Lakers fan. I'm a LeBron fan. Like where he could in Miami, cool. I'm a Miami fan. Cleveland, cool. I'm a Cleveland fan. Like wherever he is, I'm a fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always mess with my wife because she's obviously from B-more, so she likes the Ravens and O's. And then she's like, "Go Caps, go Wizards." I'm like, I'm from Philly. I would never root for a DC team. Like,
yeah, but it's all right. This is coming from a Caps fan. It's different because Baltimore doesn't have a hockey team.
Yeah, we don't have anything, man. We got nothing going for us.
Skipjacks, right? Go Skipjacks.
Go Skipjacks.
What's a skipjack?
That was I think there was
minor league team.
Oh, minor league team. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. They never had a real pro team, but
got it.
I wanted, before Adam finishes the rest of these, I do want to go into too. I think it's interesting you hit that you would be a LeBron fan first before a team and follow him, because that's kind of what you guys are doing in a way with the PLL. I mean, I've talked to a few people, my one youngest brother included. He didn't know that Miles Jones got traded to the Redwoods. I'm like, so you still like the chaos? He's like, no, I'm a Miles Jones fan. So it's interesting that you guys, I know when I talked to Paul the one time, right, in the article when you guys first launched, it was kind of about that, like, people are attracted to their favorite players now, and they don't have those city ties as much. And, go with you guys being a touring model, it kind of gives you that opportunity. I mean, my household is full of archers, whip snakes, chaos, now Redwoods fans. It's like it really doesn't matter. It's who your favorite players are. So I think that's kind of interesting that the PLL has brought that.
Yeah. No, man, that's the reality of the current landscape, right? Like, I think if you, just like I said about LeBron, like, I think that's not unique to me. I think a bunch of people probably follow him around wherever he goes. And so I think there may be a time where our sport gets there where, like, there's this geo-based affiliation of, like, in order to get there, I mean, this could take a couple hours, so I won't go the long route, but, like, in order to have, like, that fan affinity in a geo-based scenario, like, you would need your players to all live in that one place and get involved in the community. And then all of a sudden, like, then there becomes this bond between the team and the community and like living and dying by everything that team does. But since that's not the case right now, our guys live everywhere. It's really tough to have that geo-based fan affinity thing going. And to your point, like, at the moment, like, folks are into following their favorite players. And so the touring model works because folks are going to show up to see Miles or Rob or Paul or Tom or Rambo or whoever it is, because that's their favorite guy.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and speaking of you got to see a lot of areas last year. Guys living all over, so you get to travel a lot. Favorite vacation spot?
Paris. So my wife and I went to Paris on our honeymoon, and we've been back since. And it is I don't know why that was like our spot in our head, but like we just love it because the thing is, this is crazy. So we're not beach people. Okay. We lived in Newport Beach. We lived like I could literally throw something to the beach. Probably went like 5 times over the course of like 10 years. We're just like we like looking at it or like actually going in it. Like I'm good. And so Paris would probably be our favorite vacation spot. I think what I'm hopeful of, we talked about this the other day. I'm hopeful that like now that our kids are getting like a little older, if we go to the beach, they're going to be like old enough to do an activity. Because I think at the core, why I don't like beaches, I don't want to just sit out on the beach and just fry. Like that's not fun, right? Like I don't want to just sit there. And so, cause I remember loving the beach when I was younger, like a kid. So hopefully now that they're a little older, we'll turn the corner and like we'll get back into beaches again. But for now, definitely Paris.
Awesome. Well, they have a lot of good food in Paris, so I'm curious if this is the answer to this one. Favorite meal, and do you prefer to take out or cook at home?
My wife's an incredible cook, so definitely cook at home. And my favorite meal, it's tough. My favorite food is waffles, like a big Belgian waffle. But if I had to like pick a meal, she does like this nice crab cake Brussels sprout situation. So I'd go with that.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
And number 5, what's a book you've read or are currently reading that you'd recommend to a friend or teammate? And we add a second part of this since everyone's been stuck inside. We're adding like show or movie since everybody's been binging a lot.
Yeah, I actually have not. I haven't been reading as much as I'd like. There's a Brian Windhorst book on LeBron. I can't remember the title of it, but it's literally been sitting on my desk since quarantine happened, and I just haven't had a chance to make it to it. So I'll rain check that one. But the show. Let's talk about it. So there's a few things that I've been looking into recently. So I have probably like most people, we obviously have time at night right now with everybody being home. But so I have a kid that wakes up ridiculously early. And then he just like wants to chill and lay on you and watch Mickey Mouse. So like I have like an hour window in the morning to like 5 a.m. to watch whatever I want to watch. And so have you seen All American?
Yeah. So I've watched a few of it. I haven't been watching. My fiance's been watching it. It's good.
So I cruised. It's like, I don't know if it's good. I don't know the right word to say. It's entertaining, I'll say.
Okay.
It's entertaining. And it feels like so what I keep getting caught up in is like the stuff that happens in the show is very real. Like there's like substance abuse, there's rehab, there's pregnancies, there's all these like very real things. And then I remember like, wait, this is a high school show. Like these people are in high school. And I'm like, wait, what is going on right now? And it's like based in LA and alum or in what's it called? In Crenshaw and in Beverly Hills. Like it's an entertaining show. So I'd say shows I've watched during quarantine. I'm all caught up with Billions, which is great. All American is worth checking out. Me and my wife restarted The Office like a month ago. So that's obviously always funny. And there's one more I'm blocking. Oh, did you watch Homeland?
No.
I just was told about that, like that to just start rewatching it. I just started it.
I need to watch it.
You've never watched it before?
No,
I've never seen it.
Bro,
Okay.
you guys
We got
kidding
it.
me?
We got it.
That's next.
Next time we talk, we'll do a deep dive on Homeland.
Okay, sounds good. Now, how many seasons are there? Are there 4?
7.
7. Oh, okay. Wow.
Like it just wrapped for good, like forever.
Okay.
I don't know, like a month ago.
I like watching shows when they're completely done because I can just I like to see an end.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
I'll have to
Show
check
is so
that
good.
out. I'll have to
good.
get started on it because the thing with my fiance is she goes through shows so quickly I can never keep up. Like,
yeah,
I was like, she's like, I just watched this new show, All American. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, can we watch the first couple episodes? So I can like
she's
get caught up.
season 3.
She's like, oh, I'm on season 2. Like what?
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, but
That's how it goes.
anyway,
Cool.
Homeland will be one that we'll check out. I'll like that.
Please do. It's so good.
So that wraps up our 5 and 5. We always get great recommendations. But we like to end on one final question before we let you go, Kyle. And we ask every guest this is, what is some advice that you have for a young player looking to one day play lacrosse professionally?
Everybody goes to camp. Everybody practices with their team. Everybody does a team lift. Everybody watches film with the team. If you are serious and like the dream is to play professionally, you have to separate yourself. You have to do more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be doing things after practice. You have to do it before practice. You have to be going above and beyond to chase this thing because everybody is doing the bare minimum, which is everything that the team requires you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And lacrosse at this point professionally has gotten to a point if you don't do more, you won't make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not possible. Everybody is so good at this point that if you are seriously chasing the opportunity to play professional lacrosse, man, you have to be willing to do everything to get yourself in peak shape to perform. So that's eating right, that's watching film, that's lifting, that's recovering, that's doing the whole deal. And you've got to get yourself into that rhythm, right? Because you can't just turn it on. You can't just be like, ooh, practice starts next week, I got to start working out. Like, no, this is like a full-time thing.
Yeah.
And you have to chase it. And so it's tough, man. Like I say all the time to my nephew, because he's chasing it right now too. I'm just like, just be aware, man. Like it ain't easy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people say they want to go to Hopkins. Like, okay, shit wasn't easy. Like, okay, I get it. But like, just prepare yourself. Like school's going to be hard. Lacrosse is going to be very hard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not discouraging you, but let's like keep it a buck here. Like it's going to be tough. So that'd be my advice.
No, that's awesome. We appreciate that. And our young listeners, I think, certainly will too, and it's great to talk to somebody that's, been a staple. I knew growing up, you're in the K18 poster from STX on my wall and stuff. So it's pretty awesome for us to talk to you. And I think you've been a huge role model, both on and off the field. So we really appreciate your time, Kyle. I
appreciate you, fellas. Let's do it again.
No, for sure. And we look forward to watching you guys during the championship series on NBC. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be even more of a sprint, I think, this time around than last season.
That's the last thing these old legs need, man.
Well, best of luck with the Redwoods, Kyle.
Roll Woods, baby. I'll catch up with you guys soon.
Today, I also want to talk to you about Design Tree. On our Design Tree store, we have several t-shirt designs like the Pro Lacrosse Talk tee I'm wearing today, our Blast Lacrosse shirt, Crosses Medicine shirt, and many more designs on the way. Design Tree is also home to hundreds of other t-shirt designs in the realm of sports and pop culture. To help support the podcast, please consider checking out our Design Tree store at dsgntree.com/pro-lacrosse-talk and grab a shirt today.